bone marrow inside of our bones. So cells are kind of the building blocks for your body. So you have cells that make up your hair, cells that make up your heart, and cells that make up your blood. So the first part that we're going to learn about is plasma. So Erin, if you'd like to pour that into our bowl.
Here we go. And what does plasma do, Rachel?
So plasma is the liquid that carries your blood cells all throughout your body. So it helps blood cells go from your head all the way down to your toes.
This is really thick, guys. What's up next, Rachel?
Okay, so our first blood cell that we're going to learn about is red blood cells. So red blood cells, they carry oxygen throughout our body. So they are like the party cells of your blood cells. So they give energy and they help you feel good.
And what happens when your body doesn't have many red blood cells?
So if you don't have very many red blood cells, you might feel a little tired, you might not feel like doing too much. So we like red blood cells because they give us energy to go out and ride our bike or play an instrument and do all the activities that we like to do. So next we have our white blood cells. So we're going to use little marshmallows to represent those.
And what do those do?
White blood cells help fight infection in your body, so they are your fighter cells. So whenever you have a cold or the flu, the white blood cells' job is to help knock out that cold or that flu. So they are fighter cells. Okay, and our last one is platelets. We're going to use some lemon heads for that. Add up those platelets. So their job is kind of like a Band-Aid cell. So if you've ever gone bike riding and you scraped your knee or your elbow and you have that scrape there, but then in a few days or so you might get a scab. So that's your platelets working. So they help to clot blood. So they are our Band-Aid cells. Okay. So sometimes, no one knows why, but our bone marrow ends up making baby white blood cells. And they don't have a job. They didn't grow up to do their job. And so all they know how to do is to multiply. They keep growing and growing and growing really fast. So they get in the way of all of our healthy blood cells. You can't see all of your healthy blood cells. So you might feel a little tired. You might not be able to fight infection as well. And you might have like nosebleeds because your platelets aren't able to work that well.
Very good.
What happens when you have sickle cell disease?
Oh. So if you have sickle cell disease, so you won't have the cancer cells, but your red blood cells, some of your red blood cells look like these little crescent moons called sickles. So the sickle cells, since they aren't a full circle, when they go throughout our body, they can cause pain because they have kind of sharp edges. So when they're in our blood, they don't go as smoothly throughout the plasma like healthy red blood cells, and so they can cause pain if they
when they're trying to move through?
Yes, when they're trying to move through our body.
And what happens if you have something called hemophilia? So with hemophilia, most of them are lacking part of the platelets. Woo! They don't throw them around like I do. They're missing part of these, which means that their blood does not clot as easily. So their Band-Aid cells, or most of them, some have none and some have very few. And so they have to get a special medicine to help their blood to clot. These are already starting to clot, but...
What is that medicine called, Erin?
Factor! I don't know why I just sang it, that sounded fun to me. But they take something called factor. And there's lots of different types of not lots, there's type A and type B. Rachel, how do we get rid of these cancer cells or the little tiny white blood cells?
So you might have heard of a medicine called chemotherapy or chemo. So chemo's job is to get rid of all of those cancer cells. But chemo is really strong. So sometimes when it takes away the cancer cells, it also takes away some of our healthy blood cells too. So chemo may make us feel a little tired, or we may not be able to fight infections as much because it's taken away.
Oh no! Chanel, did she have that?
What is it?
It's lemon head.
She's going.
Okay. Sorry.
And we don't know what the illness is when your dog eats your platelets. It doesn't have a name.
We don't know what's gonna happen.
We don't know what it's called.
Did that taste good, Chanel?
We know about when the dog eats your homework, but not when the dog eats your platelets.
It's gonna make Chanel big and strong.
Yes. Okay.
So, Rachel, how do we fight off the tiny little cancer cells?
So you may have heard of a medicine called chemotherapy or chemo. So chemo's job is to get rid of all of those tiny cancer cells that don't have a job. But since chemo is really strong, it also takes some of our healthy red blood cells and platelets and white blood cells with it too. So when we get chemotherapy, we might feel a little tired, or we might not be able to fight infections as well because that chemo is taking away our healthy blood cells too.